Welcome to the Productivity Show podcast, where we believe that you can get the important things done without having to sacrifice your health, family, and things that matter to you. My name is Tam Pham. I'm the founder and CEO of Asian Efficiency, where we help people become more productive at work and in life. Today is another Wisdom Wednesday episode where you get actionable productivity advice in less than 10 minutes. Now, I live here in Austin, Texas, and I go out quite a bit. I host a lot of dinner parties. I go to a lot of events. There's a lot of people that I meet around town, and this city is booming. We have new people moving in all the time, and I'm excited to meet all these new people and getting introduced to other people. And oftentimes when we start talking, naturally the question comes up, what do you do for work? What are you up to? And when I tell them that I run Asian Efficiency, they, one, are either intrigued by it, or two, have heard of it, or three, they ask me the question, what productivity apps do you recommend? And I can't tell you how often I get this question. If I got $1 every single time I got asked this question, I'd probably be almost a billionaire at this point. Now, since 2011, I've helped tens of thousands of people now, and I get this question all the time, and I had to figure out what's the best way to answer this question. When I first started off, I would say, hey, you know what? I like OmniFocus. I like Fantastical, I like BusyCal, I like this time tracking app, I like this habit tracking app. There's like thousands of apps that are out there, and I use a lot of them, and I've experimented with so many different ones. What I've realized over the years is that there's no black and white answer that will work for everybody. Some people love lists, some people hate lists, some people are more visual, others are not at all. And depending on your preferences and your working style, I would actually tailor now my answer based on what you just provided to me. So if someone does ask me the question, hey Tam, what is a productivity app that you like, or what are some of the best apps? I would actually ask follow-up questions just to get a better sense of who they are as a person, what kind of philosophies they have around work and how they do stuff. Because if you're a visual person, using something like OmniFocus, which is very list-based, is not a great fit. Just like if you are someone who loves lists, but doesn't like to be visual, using something like Trello is probably not a good fit either. And so I might share what I personally use, but I always like to ask them, what are your working styles? What is something that you like to do? What is something that you look for in an app? What matters to you most? And once I kind of get a better sense of who they are as a person, how they're working, how they're thinking, what their tendencies are, that's when I oftentimes can come up with a good list of recommendations. However, after helping so many people, I realized when you go to the App Store, there are so many that it can be easily overwhelming. So I want to shortcut the process for you and say that you only need 3. You need a note-taking app, a to-do list app, and a calendar app. Those are the essential 3 here that we teach at Asian Efficiency. So when it comes to note-taking apps, there are a lot of great options. I personally love Evernote quite a bit, but I know if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, they're kind of like a little bit in shallow waters right now, so I don't know if I would actually recommend it. However, that is one that I personally use. As an alternative, what I'm using right now quite a bit is Apple Notes. But there's also Notion, there's OneNote, there's all these great note-taking apps that are out there. As far as like to-do list apps, I personally been a big fan of OmniFocus. I've been using it for over a decade now, so it's hard for me to switch to something else, but there are a lot of great other alternatives like Todoist, and even Outlook is actually pretty good at that as well. And speaking of calendars, there are a lot of great calendar apps. I was a big fan of BusyCal for the longest time, but in the last year or two, I switched over to Fantastical. That is my favorite calendar app now because it's beautiful, it's very easy to use, and it innovates quite a bit. So there's always new updates and tweaks that the developers are making. Now, if you're on another platform, you want other recommendations, Business Calendar 2 on Android is really good. Also, if you're on the Windows, using something like the default Outlook app is actually a great alternative for using calendars as well. There you have it. You really only need 3 different types of apps to get started. A note-taking app, a to-do list app, and a calendar app. If you have all 3, then great. You are in a great place. And what I would recommend you do right now is try to master those 3 apps. This is kind of like the 80-20 of productivity apps. If you can master those 3 particular apps, note-taking, calendar, and a to-do list, you'll be way ahead of the game compared to everybody else. If you're listening right now and you go, oh my gosh, I don't have all 3 in place, then try to get all 3 in place. Maybe you're missing 1, maybe you're missing 2, maybe you're missing all 3. That's okay. Try to incorporate one of these apps slowly over time. You'll start to realize that once you master all three, you kind of have everything else covered. Everything else is kind of a nice to have at that point. Even though I love stuff like ChatGPT, Dailyo, Text Expander, and all these different other apps that are out there, the essential three are the most important. And anytime I work with a new client, if they don't have the top three essential apps, this is the first place I like to start them off with, making sure that the foundation is set so that when they start adding future apps to their workflow and to their tech stack, it's a lot easier to build on top of that. So think of it as the foundation that you need to be productive. Thank you for listening to the Productivity Show. By the way, check us out on YouTube as well. Just go to youtube.com, search for the Productivity Show. You'll find us there. Subscribe, like the videos. We have daily videos coming out. So if you love the podcast, you're going to love the daily short videos that we have posted on YouTube as well. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.